best playground. Hooray!
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, give a 5-star rating, and leave a review. Check out all our past episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you pod. What if these celebrities weren't famous? What would they have become? What was their first job? We're about to find out.
You know our next guest for being the bassist and lead singer of the band Night Ranger. Their first 5 albums sold more than 10 million copies worldwide, and the group has sold 17 million albums total. Best known for their power ballad, Sister Christian, which peaked at number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 in June of 1984. My guest this week on Celebrity Jobber, bassist and lead singer of the band Night Ranger, Jack Blades.
Jeff Zito, how are you?
Well, again, we've never talked. I've been in this business for 30 years, so I'm kind of glad that that we finally got hooked up and got the opportunity to chat a little bit. I was just reading a little bit about your story, and it was pretty remarkable. I wanted to know first, tell me about growing up in the desert.
Well, Palm Desert, yeah, right.
Desert.
Palm Desert right by Palm Springs, and that's where I was born and raised. I went to Indio High School and graduated from Indio High School back in, 72 or something like that. Yeah, it was. There wasn't a big music scene there, but I mean, I did music all my life. I mean, ever since I was 8 years old, my parents gave me like a little plastic $1 ukulele, and I started playing, with a guitar and started doing all kinds of stuff. And the next thing, the Beatles came out, and I loved it. My dad used to say, it's like I bought the first Beatles album, the Meet the Beatles,
right?
And my dad, I play the album. My dad's like, yeah, in 6 months you'll never hear about these guys. I'm like, yeah, we'll see what happens there. Yeah, so I mean, so I had, just bands growing up and everything like that. But then I moved to the Bay Area in San Francisco back in from college. I went to college in San Diego, moved to San Francisco because this guy Jerry Martini, who was the sax player for Sly and the Family Stone, was putting together a band, which is Rubicon, which is the band that Gillis and I from Night Ranger, also Brad, and then was in, and also Kelly Keagy. Kelly Keagy was the touring drummer for Rubicon at the very end in 1979. And that was sort of like the nucleus of Night Ranger. And then we put Night Ranger together in 1980, and the rest, here we are.
The rest is history.
4 years later, rocking and rolling on our way down to you guys in Tampa.
That's so cool, man. And let me back up to a little bit about Palm Desert. So the funny story is that your dad gave you this ukulele, and that's basically how you learned music. But tell me about the area a little bit as far as opportunity. What did your dad do? What kind of occupations did your parents have in Palm Desert?
Oh, my dad built golf courses. I always lived on golf courses.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole Palm Springs, Palm Desert, that whole area, Scottsdale, Arizona, all that kind of stuff. My dad built golf courses, so our house was always the first house on the golf course. I mean, dude, I probably played golf before I could walk. You know what I mean? I've been playing all my life. That's why all my buddies, when they're like in their 30s, all my buddies 30s and 40s, they're all like becoming golf Nazis and everything. And I'm like, dude, I played a lot of golf. I'm done. I've had enough.
Right.
I played enough and stuff like that and everything. So that's what my dad did down there. And
wow.
And so we lived down there, and we were always, like I said, our house. I think my brother and I were the first two children probably born in Palm Desert, because at that point it was like an adult retirement community or something,
right.
Palm Desert was. I mean, Palm Springs was like the playground for Hollywood, and, Sinatra was always in Palm Springs. Bob Hope had a big house there. I used to see Bob Hope walking on the street on Sunday afternoon. He and his wife Dolores walk, like window shopping. We'd walk by and we'd like, hey, Bob. And he'd like, hello, boys. Dude, I saw Elvis once, because Elvis had a house in Palm Springs.
Oh, my God, dude. That's crazy.
Elvis was driving this big old red Cadillac with the convertible down. It was like killer. We're like, yo, King, hey.
It seems like such a surreal type of upbringing, Jack.
Yeah, it kind of was. I was basically born with a white belt and white shoes.
Right? Did you have any desire to, follow your dad? Was your dad ever like, hey, I should show you how to do this? I mean, you've been born into it. Was there any interest in golf course design?
No, none whatsoever. I was, it was always, ever since I was, just a little bitty kid, I just always loved music. Music was always a passion for me. It was always just something that it was my go-to thing, no matter what. It was music, records, everything, just songs, learning songs from the radio, learning songs off of 45s, learning songs and everything like that. I mean, my first band, I think my buddy John Pritzloff and I, that was when we lived in Scottsdale, Arizona, because my dad built golf courses in Scottsdale also. So we went between, I lived between Scottsdale, Arizona and Palm Springs, Palm Desert, California all the time. And so it was, I think we were 11 or 12, junior high school, something like that, when I first really put like a band together, you know what I mean? Played Battle of the Bands at the school and all that kind of stuff. Now, music has always been something for me. Actually, I went to college to be a doctor.
Now I want to hear more about that, because I was a pre-med student in college, and I quit my fourth year to move to San Francisco and join a rock band. My parents are like, "What are you talking about? Are you nuts?" It was like click, So it was one of those kind of, but actually my dad was really cool about it. He said, "Hey man, everybody marches to the beat of a different drummer, and if you want to do that." My dad played guitar too. I mean, through the Depression, he worked his way through college, like playing guitars, for a plate of spaghetti, a night and stuff like that. So, he graduated from, Iowa State University or something like that, Iowa. And, but he played guitar all through, so there's music in my family, sort of like family tree. So I don't know about you, but my streaming subscriptions are officially out of control. If there's one show that I want to watch on one platform, I subscribe. Free trial, I subscribe. Over time, I'm losing track of what I'm subscribed to, and things are getting out of control. So let me tell you about Rocket Money. It's a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions and monitors your spending, and it helps lower your bills all in one place. You can easily cancel the stuff you don't want with just the press of a button. No more long hold times or annoying emails with customer service. Rocket Money does all the work for you. With over 3 million users and counting, Rocket Money customers have saved an average of $720 a year. Stop wasting your money on things you don't use. Cancel those unwanted subscriptions and manage your money the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/jobber. That's rocketmoney.com/jobber. rocketmoney.com/JOBBER. What's really cool, though, is, you go to college to become a doctor. What got you interested in medicine? Were you just at the age where you're like, because I get it. You go to college. I don't think a kid's ready to pick a major and figure out what he wants to do for the rest of his life when he's 18 years old. But look, everybody tells you, doctor, lawyer, you're making a good living doing that. Was that pretty much what led you to go into med school? Did you have a love of biology, and what made you want to become a doctor at that time?
Well, it was pre-med. I never got to med school, but it was pre-med, and I don't know, I just always loved the thought of being a doctor. Seriously, when I was growing up, I didn't think music was going to be, I didn't think I was going to have a career in music. You know what I'm saying? I thought, well, I loved biology. I loved psychology, psychiatry. I loved all that kind of stuff, and all those, I excelled well in school and in all those sort of fields. So I was very much in tune with, like, okay, I'm going to be a doctor. Wow. I'm just going to focus right into college and focus right on it and go into pre-med. So I just, all the courses were pre-med courses and stuff like that. But yeah, I decided I needed to give this music thing, one real shot. And I was young enough, at 20, to go, hey man, I'm going to give it I'm going to give it a throw,
right.
Because I just love music. My first concert, my first concert was the Monkees back in 1966 or something.
Very cool.
In Phoenix, Arizona, and then I remember in 1972, right after I graduated from high school, I snuck into the Rolling Stones concert in San Diego, California. I drove up there and walked down. I had long hair and a fringed leather jacket,
right?
And so I went in at load-in, like at 10 a.m. in the morning, just walked down the ramp, and everybody thought I was a roadie or something. It was like almost famous. It was like one of those deals,
Wow.
And so I walked in there, and it was this tour that Rolling Stones did with Stevie Wonder in 1972, and Bill Graham was the promoter, the big rock impresario from San Francisco, California. He was the promoter of the tour, and it was wild, man. I walked down there, and suddenly I'm standing there, and all of a sudden a semi pulls in, and the guy starts handing me out parts of drum sets, and the next thing I know, I'm in the truck handing out stuff, and then the next thing I know, the guy's like, hooked me up with passes and said, "Hey, stay here and help me set up the stage and do this." And
Jack, did you have like a backup plan? Like, okay, you go to school, you're pre-med, and you're like, look, I got to give this music thing a shot. But in the back of your mind, did you think to yourself like, okay, I'm going to give this a shot for a minute, and if it doesn't work out, I'll just do this?
Yeah, it was pretty much like I took a leave of absence on my fourth year of college. So it was going to be like, I'll just say I'm doing that. So
okay.
I said I can always go back. If this doesn't work for a couple, 3 years or 4 years or something like that, I'll just go back, finish my last year, and then just go into med school.
Okay. So that was the plan. If Night Ranger never came about, you might be Dr. Jack Blades.
Pretty much. I mean, it was pretty funny, but yeah, that's the long and the short of it. And then I met my wife when I first moved to San Francisco, 1976. I met her, and we've been married since '77. So I mean, my life drastically changed when I moved to the Bay Area, and the Bay Area was so great back then, man. I mean, there was music everywhere. It was like the Dylan song. There was music in the cafes at night and revolution in the air. It was just so freaking badass. I mean, I'd be at a club and in would walk all the guys from Santana to jam with the guys that were at the club.
Right.
And then I had, when we were in there, we'd have a club band and we'd play some stuff, and also the guys in Jefferson Starship had come in and jam with us. And It's a Beautiful Day and The Dead and all these people, and it was the music scene up there was just amazing. Journey, all the guys in Journey. I mean, Neil Sean and I have been, we've been friends for 40-something years.
Wow.
I mean, I met Neil back in 1979, 1978. Neil and I are still like greatest of friends. Neil was, just that great guitarist that just, played with Santana and then just formed this band called Journey. And, it was just awesome.
So I don't know about you, but my streaming subscriptions are officially out of control. If there's one show that I want to watch on one platform, I subscribe. Free trial, I subscribe. Over time, I'm losing track of what I'm subscribed to, and things are getting out of control. So let me tell you about Rocket Money. It's a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions and monitors your spending, and it helps lower your bills all in one place. You can easily cancel the stuff you don't want with just the press of a button. No more long hold times or annoying emails with customer service. Rocket Money does all the work for you. With over 3 million users and counting, Rocket Money customers have saved an average of $720 a year. Stop wasting your money on things you don't use. Cancel those unwanted subscriptions and manage your money the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/jobber. That's rocketmoney.com/jobber. rocketmoney.com/JOBBER. So Night Ranger's already a band, and tell me the story about how you kind of got in with Night Ranger, and secondly, what you feel like the big break of not only you but the band, if you remember that moment in time.
Well, it was interesting because when we put together Night Ranger, we were originally called Ranger, and my roommate at the time was Alan Fitzgerald, Fitz, who was our keyboard player for Night Ranger, and he was the bass player for Montrose, excuse me, and he played keyboards with Sammy Hagar when Sammy went solo, and then he was with Gamma, with Ronnie Montrose with Gamma and everything like that. So Fitz was my roommate, And Fitz came back off a tour with, I don't know, I think it was Gamma or something like that, and he said, hey, man, why don't we put a rock band together? Because Brad's and my band Rubicon had just broken up, like in the end of 1979, and we had this little club band that we were playing around the Bay Area and called Stereo. And in 1980, Fitz said, why don't we put a rock band together? I know this kid in Sacramento named Jeff Watson, and I can bring him in, and you bring your guys, your drummer and your guitarist, Brad and Kelly, with you, and let's just form a 5-piece band and put this thing together. And I said, okay, let's do it. So that's really how we formed the band in 1980. But I mean, and then we tried to get a record deal and everything for about 2 years. I mean, it went by really quick, but at the time it seemed like nothing was happening. I mean, every record company passed on us twice. And then finally one guy took a shot at us, took a shot on us. It was Boardwalk Records, and Neil Bogart that had Casablanca before, and then he started with Boardwalk Records, had Joan Jett and the Blackhearts doing I Love Rock and Roll. That was a big hit on the radio and stuff. And so he took a shot with us, and boom, we made that first record, Dawn Patrol. And I think the biggest break for Night Ranger was when we had our album Dawn Patrol, we decided to make this video with all our buddies from the UCLA Film School, all my friends from Southern California. They checked out all the gear, and it was the Don't Tell Me You Love Me video. And, we made it for like nothing. We did it totally guerrilla style and everything like that. And but MTV was this brand new thing coming out. MTV was something that never, it was just like, it was like this new TV thing. So I don't think MTV had a lot of videos. So when we gave them our video back in like September or October of 1982, I think, they started pounding Don't Tell Me You Love Me like 14 times a day. And suddenly we were on TV, and everybody was watching this new thing called MTV. So, we'd start playing shows, and we went on tour with, I think, Hagar with his 3-Lot Box tour in the beginning of 83. Oh, we did some shows with Kiss the end of 82 and January of 83. But everywhere we went into towns, people knew who we were because they'd seen Don't Tell Me You Love Me, the video. They're like, oh, you're the guys in the video. Don't Tell Me You Love Me. So it was like we were TV stars.
It was a trip.
And you're talking about a big break and everything like that. I think that's what the fact that we just hit at the right time with our video, with our album, with MTV coming out, with everything. The whole thing just blew up. Suddenly we'd sold 1 million records.
And then tell me, the next album, Midnight Madness, you have this song that comes out and really blows the doors wide open with Sister Christian, because that summer, I think it was the summer when Sister Christian came out. You could not get away from that song. It was everywhere, not only on MTV, but the little local video shows that they had on late at night. It was on everywhere. It was all over the radio. That had to be a big moment in Night Ranger's life too.
Well, that was when the thing exploded, and we went from playing 3,000, 3,500 seaters to arenas. And, instantly like that. And that whole thing was, again, one of those, I swear to God, it was one of those lucky things where in the spring we decided to film the video for Sister Christian, and we went to a high school, San Rafael High School in the Bay Area in San Rafael, California, where we all sort of lived in, most of us lived in Marin County. Brad lived in Alameda, but everybody else lived in Marin. And so we filmed this video, and it got released right when everybody was graduating from high school, right in, May, June of 1984, and every frickin' high school across the country, it was like their theme song.
Wow.
For every class.
Wow.
And it was one of those things, we didn't even think about it, man, when we did it, because we filmed it back in April,
right?
Something like that, the video. And this thing just, end of March and April, and then released it like in May, and the thing just blew wide open. And that, I think that, that made that such a number one record, and still to this day, it's like in the collective consciousness of the country.
I could tell you on a classic rock station, when you do research, radio research, and you put a bunch of songs out there to research, Sister Christian usually shows up in the top 3 of all the 700 songs that you're testing. It's that massive still today.
Yeah, it's one of those songs. It's one of those songs that just goes and goes and goes, and we love it, man. When we get up on stage and play it, man, when everybody's smiling and singing along to that thing, there's like 10,000 people singing to that song. I mean, how can you not? You'd have to be some jaded prick to just stand there and do nothing. You know what I mean? I mean, it just, we play it like we're playing it for the first time every time we play it.
Does it take you back to that moment in time? Do you ever kind of think about what was going on in your life and, at that particular time, sometimes when you're playing that song live?
Not really.
No, huh?
Actually, no. Actually, it just, it's you're up on stage and everybody's singing the song, and it's just so great. And every cell phone is up, holding their lights up and everything. It's just, you're in the moment.
Right.
At that point, what amazes me is that, like 40 years later, it's just, it's still just so exciting.
Did you ever have a real job, Jack? Did you ever, outside of music, like your first job? Can you remember what your very first job was?
Outside of doing music all my adult life? Yeah, when I was 15, I think I was like a short order cook at Keaty's Bar and Grill in Palm Desert, California.
That's it? Is that it? Yeah, is that the only working?
That's it. From that point on,
wow.
All my adult life is play a guitar and sing a song.
Pretty lucky, man. That's very, very cool.
Yeah, I feel blessed every day. I never take it for granted, that's for sure.
It's a great story. I mean, the most incredible part of the story is how, I think, in my opinion, how your path originally was, Dr. Jack Blades. I mean, that you don't hear a lot of rock stars say that was their initial path.
Exactly. Pretty crazy. But that's, it never came to pass because this music thing worked out actually quite well. I mean, with with Night Ranger and then, of course, Damn Yankees. And then, of course, Tommy and I do stuff together, Shaw Blades. And then I played with Tak Matsumoto, who's a huge Japanese artist in Japan. We did a TMG, #1 records in Japan. Night Ranger is still huge in Japan. I mean, it's worked out well. Yeah, I have no complaints.
What do you do when you're not on the road, Jack? Like when it's just you and your family?
I live on an island above Seattle, and I just enjoy it. I just hang out. I just love just chilling out with my family, and that's what, my downtime is the most important thing because the rest of my life I'm spending it in, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Detroit, Dallas, Houston, blah,
right.
blah, 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 you know what I mean? So, I'm right on the ocean. I'm right on Puget Sound, sitting on the ocean. I wake up and pinch myself every morning and look out, sit on my deck and look at the water just lapping up onto the, from the Puget Sound. So that's what I do just to relax.
That doesn't get old, I bet.
That does not suck.
No, it doesn't. Man, you're a cool guy, Jack. I could see you being able to talk your way into almost anything. If it wasn't Night Ranger, if it wasn't being a doctor, I think you'd be okay no matter what, because it seems like you're a pretty likable guy and you could probably, talk your way, like I said, into almost anything.
Yeah, I'm kind of like a cat. I'll always land on my feet somewhere.
Oh, man.
But thankfully, I don't have to worry about it because music is it.
That's so cool.
I've just done, and we're going to keep doing this Night Ranger until it's not fun anymore because we don't need to. You know what I mean? So
right.
We're just going to keep playing until it's not fun. But right now, it's too freaking fun, man.
Thanks so much for your time, and I look forward to hanging out on Friday.
See you on Friday. Yeah, see you on Friday, bro. Take care.
Awesome. Take care, man.
Bye.
Jack Blades from Night Ranger. He's actually on tour with Bret Michaels, Jefferson Starship, Steve O'Gerry, who's a former lead singer of the band Journey, Mark McGrath from Sugar Ray, and their concert's coming through town. So I'm going to go and hopefully get to hang out with Jack, spend some time with him. Really interesting guy, likable guy, personable guy. Doesn't matter what he is, what he would have become would have been something substantial, I think, just because he just, like I said, he's just likable. And when you're likable in the world of business, you can go a lot of places, that's for sure. Jack Blades' father built golf courses. Well, that's an occupation you don't hear about very often, right? I mean, he says he was the first house built on a number of golf courses down in the Palm Springs, Palm Desert area, kind of a playground for the stars, talking about Elvis Presley and Bob Hope walking around in his neighborhood. What a cool job his dad had with building golf courses. The most interesting thing I thought of the whole conversation was that this guy's backup plan was to be a doctor. You don't talk to many rock stars who go to college, pre-med, wanted to be a doctor. But, not only the lifestyle or, being a doctor, everybody, your parents, doctor, lawyer, those are the jobs that your parents try to get you to go into because, they're known for making a lot of money. This guy was really interested in the sciences and even the psychology. And I thought it was interesting that music was his love. But he said, you know what? I'm going to try this music thing, Dad. If it doesn't work out, I'll go back to school and become a doctor. Do you know if I had that conversation with my old man, he would have hit the roof after spending money like that on college. Yeah, you know what? The doctor thing, I'm going to go play music in San Francisco. He would have killed me. No doubt about it. But it worked out for Jack Blades and Night Ranger, obviously. The big break, Don't Tell Me You Love Me, happened to come out at the perfect time when a new channel, MTV, became, a household thing. It wasn't in every house in the beginning. I remember having to go to my friend's house up the road because he had MTV, and I watched it every single day for hours and hours. And since there wasn't a lot of music videos at the time, and Night Ranger throws in the Don't Tell Me You Love Me video, it starts getting 14 plays a day, like he said. Now he's going to Pittsburgh, and he's going to Cincinnati, and he's going to all these places, and they're knowing who they are. So kind of his big break, I think the real big one was when I mentioned the song Sister Christian. You just couldn't get away from that song in the summer of 1984. It was just absolutely huge, and still is huge to this day. Just had one job in his life. It's like a prep cook at some local restaurant in Southern California. Pretty lucky, I'd say. Again, pretty cool guy. I enjoyed talking to him for sure. And I thank you for listening to the Celebrity Jobber podcast. If you like what you heard, please leave a 5-star rating, leave a review, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you pod. And we're ranked in the top 10 globally of all podcasts. So thanks everybody for subscribing. Oh, you haven't subscribed yet? Don't forget to do that. Past episodes can be found on celebrityjobber.com, and follow us on Instagram at Celebrity Jobber Podcast. We'll see you next week. Thanks again. I'm Jeff Zito.